Good morning and welcome to the 8:15 Daily Operations Weather Brief. Here on the field this morning, we do have some light remnants of overnight and early morning fog that is actively burning away under some partially clearing conditions and a little bit of sun breaking through this morning. Current sky cover does include some upper level cirrus clouds and a scattered cloud deck at 12,000 feet, with our temperatures in the mid 70s, mid to upper 70s, making today a slightly cooler day compared to previous days of last week and the week before, which we had some pretty good heat wave move through. Earlier today, we did see some showers with locally heavy rain move through our area, although no lightning was detected with those cells, so that's a good thing. However, our rain and thunderstorm chances do remain somewhat elevated for later today, especially from the early afternoon until, let's say, roughly 5 to 6 p.m. And winds for today are, well, currently rather light and are likely to remain light and variable throughout the day, with winds generally staying below 10 knots. However, if we see any passage of storm, locally higher gusts could be expected. Now taking a look at our most recent surface analysis chart, here we are currently sitting under a light region of high pressure with no main weather driving features moving through the immediate area. Although with that being said, we are expecting an unsettled weather pattern to persist through the end of the week into the weekend and even the earlier days of the week next week. This will largely feature some isolated to scattered afternoon and evening thunderstorms, basically daily. And today, any storms that do happen to fire off will be primarily supported by our sea breeze effects and boundaries and just general atmospheric instability, especially once that instability starts to build during our peak daytime heating hours. And all of that, despite some weakening upper level support, it's still primed for what could be a pop-up kind of day. And throughout this period, it's also fair to note that we have received a generally high amount of rain over the past few days, so locally we're quite saturated, and due to the nature of these storms and how they would likely pop up and be slow movers, and there's a lot of moisture in the atmosphere, that risk for localized flash flooding is also present, especially in our coastal areas as such. And touching on the current weather conditions this morning, we do have that scattered cloud deck at 12,000 feet with a broken cloud layer at 25,000 feet, and our visibility is currently unrestricted. Winds are largely northerly at 4 knots, and our temperature currently sits at 77 degrees with a relative humidity of 93%. And taking a look at this morning's satellite imagery, we can see those upper level clouds in the form of those lighter colors, those oranges and those reds. That is that broken at 25,000 layer. And then those blues that we see start to build in once the daytime moves through our imagery here. That is depicting that low level fog that is burning away and largely gone at this point, but also that scattered layer at 12,000 feet. And we can see some convective activity kicking off offshore, thankfully, but it is continuing to appear as if it is a clearing pattern for the next few hours as that stuff drifts offshore. Pulling up our most recent model run for this morning, this is the HER, and kind of paints the picture of what I was describing earlier, in which will remain largely dry with the chance of maybe a pop-up or scattered shower, which we can see just kind of speckled all over the place here. But largely, if we look in our general area, we can see in the afternoon, should start looping through here shortly, right there. That is in the noon to 5 o'clock period, in which a good amount of the models are in agreement that that's a prime time for when we could see some pop-up convection. but overall largely dry elsewhere. And then after that time period, those rain chances do diminish, and the chance of a pop-up shower thunderstorm also go down. Now moving on to our 24-hour risk chart for today. We currently have broken cloud cover, which is supposed to lighten up just a little bit, but as it does, it'll allow enough sun for some further instability to build in. Hence, we have orange on the board for our precip and lightning chances come noon and moving into the 4 o'clock range. And on either side of that time period, there are still a chance of a shower or thunderstorm popping up and moving through. And following those time periods, we can see that there's a good chance of some lower level cloud cover and, as a result, lowered visibilities, and those are also noted in the TAF off to the right there. And light winds throughout, light and variable. And moving on to the short-term weather forecast for today, our risk chart does have a little bit of color for precip on each day and afternoon. So Saturday, we can expect partly cloudy conditions with a slight chance of a pop-up shower or thunderstorm and a high of 84, as well as those lowered ceilings and lower visibility values in the early morning hours and overnight tonight. Saturday night, partly cloudy and a low of 74, where we might have some lingering low-level cloud cover or cloud cover starting to build back in once those temperatures drop. And then come Sunday, partly cloudy with a slight chance of a pop-up shower or thunderstorm and a high of 84. And all of the days do appear rather low as far as the chance of a wind advisory. And that is going to conclude our 8:15 daily weather operations brief. I'll be back at 10 o'clock with the 7-day outlook.